What if God's not going to be pure and holy? What if He's going to change the rules at the last second? He said, if you're a believer, you're saved. What if He changes all that and judges differently? Instead of the unjust and the just, what if He just comes up with a whole new plan? The reason we have that picture in our mind is because it happened. In 2009, 2 judges are accused of jailing kids for cash in Pennsylvania. This just happened last year. People were shocked when federal prosecutors announced that 2 county judges pled guilty to tax evasion and honest service fraud. What they basically were doing, there was a new county jail, there was a new youth detention home. And they wanted to help populate the detention hall to justify what the city and the state had made. So they were taking kickbacks, payouts. And between the years of 2003 and 2008, hundreds of juveniles had been sent to incarceration falsely, wrongly, and these judges were taking money for it. Here's what Devin Roberts, the chief of the Scranton FBI office, had to say about this. He said they sold their oath of office to the highest bidders. They engaged in ongoing schemes to defraud the public of honest services they were expected to give. We know we have a warped system. We know we have a fallen system. We know judges are tainted at times. They come with their own skews and situations. We know there are payoffs. But that's not going to be Jesus, the judge, because this verse makes it very clear that He is described as faithful and true. He judges fairly. These scripture words are enormous for us as people of faith. We have nothing to fear when Judge Jesus returns. We can relax and know that He will be faithful and true. What He said He will do, He will do. He will judge the unjust and the just. If you are not a believer, the Bible is very clear. If you are a believer, you can take it to the bank. It's faithful, it's true, it's worthy. We can relax, believers. We can know that this is going to be okay, even though it's a different image and a picture of who Christ is. The sky's going to crack. The judge is going to come. He's going to come with power and glory. And then the judge has to make a ruling. The judges have to decide, what are we going to do now? And out of this verdict comes 2 different events. 2 different roles now emerge for the judge to also take on as he leads this decision process. And one of them is called the Great Banquet. The Great Banquet is for non-believers, for those that do not know Jesus Christ. This is not the banquet that is described in the parables of Jesus, where He says, we're going to throw a banquet feast, quick, go get everyone and bring them in. That's a different parable. It's a story for the church to be on mission to go reach people for Jesus Christ. This great banquet is a whole different thing. Look at verse 17. Pick up where we left off. Here's how this is described. Then I saw an angel standing in the sun, shouting to the vultures flying high in the sky, come, gather together from the great banquet God has prepared. Come and eat the flesh of kings, generals, and strong warriors, of horses and their riders, and of all humanity, both free and slave, small and great. Look at the phrasing here. Look at what he says. He's shouting again. He's calling out for vultures to come to a great banquet. We've seen this in movies. We've seen this on vacations. We've seen this in different places that we've all gone. Vultures circle around and circle around. And what are they signifying? Something is either dead or about ready to die. They are waiting for death to take the animal or take the person or whatever it is. And as they circle, more vultures see them circulating. And the feast, the party grows. And more vultures and more vultures. Vultures are really disgusting animals. If you're unaware of this, they wait for the body to decompose. They don't go swooping down, smack it, kill it. No, they wait for it completely to be dissolving, eroding. corrupted. And then they go down and they pick it and they eat it. But that's the banquet that Christ is describing through the vision of John that is for unbelievers. That because of he rules justly and fairly and pure and right, a holy, pure God cannot tolerate sin, and eventually sin must be addressed. The thing that's interesting about vultures is, as gross as they are, when they plummet their head into the carcasses, they pull their heads back out, and they're still clean. They are designed in a way where everything falls off. They also have 100 times more acid inside of them than humans do. So all that bacteria and stuff that would make us die, and make every other living creature die, their acids break it down and break it down. They go back, fly off, and go do it again. People are sometimes worried that God could get corrupted. That his evil is so rampant, so strong, that maybe even God himself, he might be tainted by this. Maybe it might happen. Remember, Jesus was tempted by Satan one time. Satan presented 3 temptations. Power, worship, ruler of the earth. He presented these wonderful things. And Jesus says, no, don't tempt me. Don't do it. And he brushed off Satan, and he stayed pure, he stayed holy, he stayed just. He has proven to us already, I'm not going to be tainted by this. I have to deal with sin, but in dealing with sin, you can be sure that God's going to be God. So here he is. The vultures are circling, and as he takes his part on, that means he must also take on the role of a warrior. Because eventually, the battle has got to come to an end. Satan is allowed to roam and do and destroy. He's been going for years this way. He has a limited power to deceive people. In chapter 20, we're going to look at that life groups a little bit this week. Chapter 20 talks about how eventually Satan is allowed to go at a whole new level. But then the warrior comes, grabs him, takes him out, takes everyone out, and it's the fiery pit forever and forever and ever. The warrior wins. But not before it goes to that whole new level. And this warrior image is a very, very strong one, that Jesus is going to be this character. But again, from our Bible, we see the picture of the lion and the lamb. Jesus has this different personalities, these traits, and here's where we really get stuck. I know people have a hard time with it. If God's love, if God's grace, and I understand the lamb, I understand the soft, the tender, the nature of Jesus that attracted people to Christ. The lamb was the sacrifice, his first coming. He went to the cross, he died for us so we can be free, so he can be slaughtered. That picture I understand, that's love. But the lion is the king of the jungle. He jumps through and he destroys and kills and he rules, and no one messes with the lion. How can Christ be both? How can God be that and that loving? And it's a hard thing to get, but he must come as the warrior king. But in all that, there is still this other ruling that's going to come out of this. I mean, we have the great banquet. We have this destructive, terrible place for unbelievers. Amy read for us from chapter 19. I just want to read one little verse of, again, this is the shout, this is the thunder, this is the angels declaring the arrival of this judge, this hero. But here's what it says in verse 7. Let us be glad and rejoice, and let us give hope to him. For the time has come for the wedding feast of the Lamb, and his bride has prepared herself. See, this imagery now of the Lamb is back in here again. The Lamb, the soft, the tender nature of Christ